Friday night. Time to have some fun talking the 49ers. Saw a video earlier today. I think this might have made the rounds a day or two ago, but you know how I like to cover how the 49ers are working this offseason. And I think one of the more notable stories of offseason work is what Deebo Samuel's doing, because he has vowed to never put what he put on in 2022 on tape again. He wants to get back to 2021 form. Well, one way to ensure that is to work out with a player in the NFL who might be the biggest physical beast of all. Saquon Barkley broke every single metric when he came out of Penn State just a few years ago as far as the size strength combination. I mean, the guy is a ball of muscle, and the guy breaks workouts in the offseason. So Deebo Samuel is working out with Saquon Barkley, and we can watch that right here. Let's take a look.
Just a little bit stronger.
So Deebo does not win that rep, but you don't expect many people to win reps with Saquon Barkley. Saquon's at left, Deebo is at right. It looks to me like Saquon's got more weight on his sled than Deebo, and he still beats him. But again, we talk about ultimate physical specimens in the NFL. Saquon Barkley might be near the top of that list all time. I mean, you look at his spark score and his athleticism metrics coming out of Penn State. There was something else. That being said, Deebo Samuel is no slouch himself, but Deebo Samuel is trying to get into the kind of shape that Saquon Barkley is in. Now, I don't know if there's a workout warrior in the NFL that'd be able to keep up with Saquon Barkley, especially in something like this, staying low to the ground, driving forward. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that he's built for. Deebo Samuel, though, this is the kind of stuff that I think that when he's in really good shape would excel at as well. And it's not like he's doing poorly in this drill. I mean, that is one of the best performers in the world at this right next to him. That's beating him by just a little bit. Anyway, Deebo working to get back in shape, and he's working with somebody who you would want him to work with in Saquon Barkley. And, you know, Saquon obviously is a versatile running back, and I'm wondering how much running back is Deebo Samuel going to play in this 2023 season. We look at his usage over his career, 2019 to 2022. I want you to pay close attention to this column right here, attempts per game on the very right. This is rushing attempts per game. It has increased over time, but it decreased from 2021 to 2022. So the past two seasons are when Kyle Shanahan has used Deebo Samuel out of the backfield. 2019, not really. 0.9 carries per game. 2020, they fidgeted with it a little bit. There was that win against the Rams at home in front of the empty stadium at Levi's where Deebo Samuel ran the whole first drive, I remember, then ran it in for a touchdown and really left the Rams spinning. That's the first time that Kyle Shanahan really showcased that aspect of play calling with number 19. And then it became a full-time, or I don't want to say full-time, but it became a big-time responsibility for Deebo Samuel come 2021. That's when the 49ers saw those running back injuries, and that's when Deebo Samuel really shifted into the backfield for at least part of the season. In 2022, it was a much more ambidextrous approach for the 49ers. We saw the vision of positionless skill position players come to full fruition. So you saw Deebo Samuel occasionally outside, Deebo Samuel in the backfield, 3.2 carries per game after averaging 3.7 per game. So, you know, anything near 4 carries per game for a player who's officially listed as a wideout, in my opinion, is significant. Deebo was close to that in 2021 when everybody was making a big deal out of him being both a receiver and a running back. And he was down near 3 carries per game, which is still significant, but not, you know, up there like, oh boy, they're going to wear him down as a running back. They really did take a little bit of that load off in 2022. And one of the main reasons is they got Christian McCaffrey for a good portion of this season. And he obviously specializes in that running back position. But you go yards per game, yards per carry, 6.2 per carry in 2021, 5.5 per carry in 2022. So Deebo Samuel is an efficient runner. And I do wonder how often the 49ers are going to hand off to him in 2023. When you see Deebo doing workouts like this, well, those are good for even when he's a receiver. He's going to catch a lot of those short balls. He's going to be working on the yak. He's going to be trying to run players over. Deebo Samuel is a freight train. I mean, the other day we played the video of him on the treadmill at the 18.6 miles an hour. Tough for defensive backs to bring him down. And I think the 49ers realize that short passes, handoffs, a lot of that is synonymous, right? A lot of that is open for Deebo Samuel to showcase and flex those yak muscles. So I think that they're going to continue using him in the backfield. And now they have a full off season of planning under their belts with Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel coexisting. Obviously, Elijah Mitchell's on the team too. So is Jordan Mason. The key for the 49ers is to make sure that opponents do not know when you're passing or when you're running. You can go out there in what is typically a run formation and maintain the credible threat of passing. Go out there in what is typically a passing formation and maintain the credible threat of running the football. And weapons like Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey allow you to sell both options, right? Because Deebo had a 1,400-yard receiving season in 2021, so he can obviously catch the football downfield, and he's also been able to run for several hundred yards per season, so he can take handoffs and be effective. Christian McCaffrey, same way, except he's been more focused on running the football, but boy, he can still split out and catch the football. This is this amorphous 49ers offense, right? Where you can line players up around the formation. They have multiple skill sets, and it creates confusion in an opposing defense. It creates pre-snap uncertainty. So if everything goes according to plan for the 49ers in this 2023 season, you're going to see Deebo Samuel on that field with Christian McCaffrey for an extended period of time. And I think that's when Kyle Shanahan can truly get creative and he can truly start to leverage Deebo Samuel to the best of his abilities. And that includes handoffs. We know that Deebo has an incentive in his contract. He didn't quite meet it this past season. I think it's 350 rushing yards for the season that triggers some extra money in the contract. He was at 232 rushing yards last year. So it's going to be mighty interesting to see if increased usage and health allows Deebo Samuel to make a little extra coin here in 2023. All right, let me answer some questions. We're going to do a little Friday night 49ers Q&A. Looks like we got a few viewers. I didn't expect a lot on Friday night, but I wanted to give you guys a nice little show here talking about Deebo Samuel. Mike says to smash that like button. Appreciate you, Kenny. Everybody post your questions. Just a few minutes of questions, then I'll leave you all to head off into the night. Which trade rumors do you want me to debunk? Anything that's posted on sites like Bleacher Report and other aggregate sites, they're not relying on actual sources. It's just somebody sitting behind a computer screen saying, I think the 49ers might trade this guy. There's no inside information behind them. So hopefully that just throws a blanket over a lot of the stuff that you might have read. The 49ers haven't been talking. They're on vacation right now. And the 49ers haven't been deciding stuff. Why should they decide stuff on July 7th? Why don't they let training camp play out to see who's good, who's not, who's valuable, who might be expendable, who else they might need? Based on that, they can decide who they want to trade. They're not going to decide what to do on the 4th of July. People are barbecuing. Kyle Shanahan is throwing footballs off of rooftops in San Diego into pizza ovens, I believe. Was that? Yeah, I think that was a couple of years ago, into a pizza oven. He's showing off his arm for Instagram. The 49ers aren't making trade decisions right now. And any article that claims that it knows what the 49ers might do, I guarantee you, is just guessing. And in all likelihood, it's guessing wrong. Deebo Samuel's stats prediction for next season. Well, why don't we put up his stats on his career? Oh, I mean, we can look at this in a number of ways, but receiving yardage wise, he peaked out at 1,405 in 21, only 632 last year. Does Deebo Samuel get back to 1,000 yards receiving? I think he does. I think he's around 1,000 yards receiving this year. He's motivated. He'll be back in shape. 49ers have more weapons they did in 2021, so it'll be hard to get back up to 1,400. But I'd say 1,000 receiving yards and let's say 300 rushing yards for Deebo Samuel. The big question to me is, does Christian McCaffrey go 1,000 this year? It'll be tough with a bunch of other positionless skill position weapons on the team, like Deebo Samuel taking away some of that snap load. But I think Christian McCaffrey registers a grand in at least one of the categories, rushing or receiving, probably rushing. and then several hundred in the other. But some of that production does have to be spread around. You've seen some clickbait about trading Mason. Yeah, that came from one of those aggregate websites. It's not based in any semblance of reality or fact. It's just people speculating. And then what happens is a broken clock can be right twice a day. So ultimately, if you predict in offseason on some 5 bullet point article, the 49ers are going to trade everybody, ultimately they will trade somebody a few months down the line, and it might match up with a name that you tossed out there without any evidence. And at that point, that's when you have people saying, oh, look, I predicted this back in July. And it's like, yeah, great. You also predicted 99 things that didn't happen. So just because it's a boring time, there's a black hole of information. It's a vacuum right now. Don't buy into stuff that isn't based on substantive fact. Kenny thinks that Christian McCaffrey is going to go 1,000 this year. That'd be the second time in his career that he did that. Obviously, he'd be the second 49er to do that. Roger Craig did it in the 1980s. I don't think Ricky Waters did it with the 49ers, did he? Somebody said just like Ricky Waters. I'm going to look this up. Ricky Waters was great coming out of the backfield. This 1994 awesome season, but I didn't know that he went 1,000. Yeah. Ricky Waters never went 1,000. The best that Ricky Waters did was in 2000 was Seattle. He rushed for 1,242 and he received 613 yards. So 1,200, 600. 94 with the 49ers, rushed for 877, received for 719. So he's nice and balanced with the Niners in 94. Caught a receiving touchdown from Steve Young in that Super Bowl blowout over the Chargers. But Ricky Waters was never quiet at 1,000 in his NFL career, like Roger Craig and like Christian McCaffrey. Will Deebo have more rushing yards than CMC has receiving yards? I doubt it, because, I mean, Deebo, even at his peak in 2021, had only 365 rushing yards. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to have over 365 receiving yards. Well more than that. Even if Deebo sees an uptick, Christian McCaffrey's receiving total should be above that. Alvin, yeah, I think Alvin Kamara won 1,000. I think there's been 3 players to do it. I'm looking. Alvin Kamara, Pro Football Reference. Actually, Alvin Kamara's never gone a. Wow. I could have sworn that Alvin Kamara had a year where he went 1,000, but he hasn't eclipsed 1,000 in either receiving or rushing. That's amazing. In 2020, Alvin Kamara had 932 rushing yards, career high, and 756 receiving yards, career second highest in his career. He had 826 as a rookie in 2017. So Kamara hasn't really come all that close to 1,000. He's an extremely balanced player, but a grand times 2, a grand squared, that's tough. A grand times 2 is different than a grand squared. I think a grand squared, though, is the correct way to put it out there. Maybe a grand, no. It's 1,000 twice, so a grand times 2. It's not 1,000 times 1,000, right? It's 1,000 times 2. So that's the right way to do it. Roger Craig, Christian McCaffrey, Marshall Faulk. Those are your 3 1,000 players. Marshall Faulk did it in the year 1999 with the Rams, greatest show on turf. 1,381 on the ground, 1,048 as a receiver. It's really hard to do, and it's only been done once by each of the 3 players listed on the screen. Craig, McCaffrey, Marshall Faulk. So if McCaffrey does it again, he'll be the first player to go 1,000 twice. What do I think the 49ers record will be? I mean, they've got, I think, the strongest roster in football. Obviously, question to answer at the quarterback position. Maybe greater than an injury question, but it starts with injuries, with Brock Purdy recovering from The elbow, I would say 12-5 for the 49ers. They have proven they can navigate situations like this before. The challenges, though, do seem to change every single year. Will Aiyuk be an alpha receiver in the NFL this season? It depends how you define alpha, but I think he already is a wide receiver one type. The thing is, Deebo Samuel may be the highest paid receiver on the 49ers, but he's a totally different wide out stylistically from Brandon Aiyuk. Aiyuk is a route runner, a technician. We've documented how well he separates. Deebo Samuel, meanwhile, is just a bull. I mean, this guy is there to run people over. He's a versatile offensive weapon. Aiyuk is much more of the traditional wideout, so he's in that wide receiver 1X role for the 49ers. I think he's getting better and better. It's a contract year for Brandon Aiyuk. So, I don't know what exactly you mean by alpha wide receiver. Seems to be a rather broad term, but why don't we say yes? Because I think that if he delivers another 1,000-yard season, Brandon Aiyuk will qualify for that. Mike, how about this? Deebo and McCaffrey go 1,000 times too. Yes, very unlikely because I don't think that Deebo's going to run that much. As you could see, the three players who have gone 1,000, 1,000 are all running backs by their home position. Craig, Marshall Faulk, Christian McCaffrey, because it's hard to get 1,000 rushing yards if you're not a running back by trade. I get it, positionless skill positions. That's a nice saying and all, and that's what the 49ers are trying to work toward, but you'll never fully reach that. So your home position matters, and that means that Deebo Samuel's going to have a tough time eclipsing 500 rushing yards. To win the Super Bowl, do the 49ers need to win the 1 seed? Well, last year they certainly did. It was going to be tough to go into Philadelphia and win, especially after Purdy got hurt. But then you could extend that argument and say, well, would Brock Purdy have gotten hurt if it was a home game and the 49ers had the benefit of no crowd noise at the snap and all that stuff? And that's what home field advantage is all about. Plus, they would have gotten some extra rest. No wild card game last year with a number 1 seed. Philadelphia certainly benefited from that. So, yeah, I think it gives you a much better shot if you're the number 1 seed. Statistically, it is a major advantage. And to get that 1 seed, you usually have to come out of the gate fast. 49ers got the 1 seed in 2019. They came out of the gate 8-0. Last year, Philadelphia was undefeated for several straight weeks at the start of the season. They held on at the end to that number 1 seed. So it is important to come out fast if your designs are on the clearest path possible to the Super Bowl. So that all then works back into who did the 49ers start at quarterback? Is Brock Purdy going to be rusty? Is it going to be Trey Lance or Sam Darnold? Who's Kyle Shanahan going to be more comfortable with week 1? Because every single game is going to be important. Better 49ers running back, Ricky Watters or Garrison Hurst? Well, Ricky Watters, how long was Ricky Watters with the team? 4 seasons? Yeah. 3 seasons, 92 to 94. So let me compare Garrison Hurst's 49ers stats to Ricky Watters' 49ers stats here. And then we'll have an answer for you. 5 years with the 49ers for Garrison Hurst. 5,535 yards rushing, 1,600 yards receiving. That's 4.7 per carry. Meanwhile, Ricky Watters, 4,000 yards rushing. It was actually, that was with Seattle. Sorry. With the 49ers, 2,840 yards rushing. It's 4.3 per carry. 1,450 yards receiving in fewer seasons, in 3 seasons, not too short of Garrison Hurst. So I think that it looked like Garrison Hurst was a more efficient runner. Ricky Watters, as we had guessed, was a more efficient receiver. Garrison Hurst had a 96-yarder against the Jets in overtime. 1998 season. That's the season in which we saw the 49ers beat the Packers with Terrell Owens. A week after that, Garrison Hurst fractured his ankle. That was really tough. Might have been the reason the 49ers didn't win Super Bowl number 6 that year. So you got to show some love to Garrison Hurst. He was a really, really good 49er. Watters does have a Super Bowl, but Super Bowls are more than just individual awards. Super Bowls rely on whole teams. One of the greatest runs ever against the New York Jets. That was crazy. Terrell Owens, speaking of that, he was blocking his ass off on that play. Way ahead of the play. I mean, that guy was sprinting. I mean, he was behind the play and then he came ahead of the play, and that's just the speed of Terrell Owens in that full speed and that full sprint with those long strides. Mike thinks the 49ers would have won. I tell you who else thinks the 49ers would have won the Super Bowl that year had Garrison Hurst not gotten hurt. Steve Young himself. Talked to him about that several times. Total team effort on the 96-yarder. It was awesome. All right, guys. Nice little 20-minute show. This was fun. Just wanted to talk a little Deebo Samuel, a little Christian McCaffrey on a Friday night. We're going to have more this weekend. I have a lot of cool content from my travels coming up that I'm going to mix into 49ers coverage as well. Trying to pass the time before July 25th. It's when the 49ers and I report to training camp. All right, everybody, thanks for joining. We will talk to you next time.